grievance, Gordia, shine. Don't you know? That's right. I got my own theme song. Ooh, always looking spiffy. I try to look spiffy. I try to do my show homeless, while homeless, in a park in Los Angeles. That's right. If you want to hear my backstory, you got to go listen to back episodes. I don't want to get into it too much today, but people were trying to kill me. It's true. I can prove it through circumstantial evidence, and that's all you need to build a case. Right? I don't know if you can hear the dogs are barking and the wood chippers chipping. I might have to, I don't know what. But it's a great day to do an episode. It's not too bright that would ruin the lighting. I do my show no matter what. I don't care. And by the way, I was working on a new Pee Wee Herman before Pee Wee Herman died. This was while I was kicking cocaine in a motel in Little Detroit. That's right. When I foiled the bastards, they were actually setting me up. They were using the same behavioral malware that was used on me down in Florida, and it was put there by my drummer. And I busted them, and they couldn't do anything. They had to call the whole operation off, which they did. I went and I was kicking drugs in a motel, and then they sent the street level gangs. That's when they sent street level gangs to harass me. They put blood in my room, and they stole my writing that was in my room. I couldn't get any help from my family or my friends. Nobody. Actually, it was my friends who turned on me. But anyways, while I was there, long story longer, I actually worked on a treatment for something called Life Couch, where hasn't been any shows where all of the furniture is anthropomorphized, right? There's no shows like this. And it was called Life Couch, and it was responded to COVID, and everybody's sitting on their couch, and this couch is just like, come on, don't sit on me, get out there, it's like a life coach, but he's life couch, and he doesn't want anyone sitting on him. They're like, because people are breaking wind and doing all this kind of stuff. So that was the nature of it, right? And I always really liked voices. I always did voices. I did a lot of voices as a kid, but you have to develop these voices. It means you have to do them all the time. And a person like me with no familial support, which ended in 2022 when my own sister physically attacked me while police were waiting outside. This is my real life. I mean, my sisters graduated top of their class, but they never dealt with the male archetype, which I represent in their life. And for whatever reason, it's like, sayonara. I'm like, all right. I used to go to the movies by myself when I was a kid. And in 2022, I bought a big screen TV because the guys at work set me up for this. And I quit, and I got money from COVID finally. And I bought a big screen TV. My own sister, who physically attacked me later, the following year, the following ensuing months, when I was trying to tell them what was going on, she wouldn't even watch a movie with me. And I bought the big screen TV. I fixed up the family room, and I did all this stuff on behalf of the family, because I'm a family man, believe it or not. But right now, I'm homeless in West Hollywood, I guess. I call it Los Angeles. Los Angeles is huge. They send LARPers out now. I'm going to talk about the Caruso McCafe today, but what they do is they send LARPers out. So when I go somewhere, they'll send one of these homeless LARPers to just really start acting out, like, And so what happens is that gives you a negative connotation. So it's not you who's doing it, but every time you go there, a different crazy LARPer shows up. Okay? So I was the one who was figuring this out, that it might be... Sorry, there's flies. There's a lot of flies. People leave food around. That it might not be as overtly organized as one might think. It might not be as overtly organized as we all think, because I think I've proven that when you have something called the World Wide Web, But yet everybody goes to 3 sites, right? Twitter, Instagram, oh, and what's this? Yeah, Facebook. That's how they were coming after me, through the Facebook app. That was being weaponized by my wife as well as other people. Many people know about this. Why? Because police officers have 2 cell phones, and one of them they can use as a neurological weapon. This is something that my wife had, but I don't believe I don't know who can have these weapons and who can't. It's probably like ecstasy. Before it's outlawed, hey, anyone can do it, right? So I talk about a lot of things on my show, but really what I've always been is a creative person. That's why I came out here. And anyway. So my main project is Linoleum Blown Apart, and I'll be pitching that all day on August 15th. It's coming up, yes! Napoleon's birthday. It's coming up, yes! Right? And people don't realize that this timeline worked out perfectly. They might be coming. These guys, they're doing the... I hope you guys can't hear that too much. They run the machines, man. Like early in the morning instead of like in the... I don't know, whatever. Whenever you're supposed to do them, I don't know. They're trimming the bushes. Last time I had to like start walking around and try to do my show from someplace else. But I might have to do that. I'm very sorry. Right? So I just got a notification that Lift the Veil is going live. I believe if he's not LARPing me personally, and then he's might be going through a similar situation as that I did in 2018. This is a similar situation to David from Majesty Crush. This is why the police killed him. It's through his device. Okay? This is how they were gaining access to me and my nervous system. And they were only sending signals that cause confusion. Okay? So it's causing this confusion, and this is part of the quote-unquote indoctrination that they do. And this indoctrination comes from your AI. And once you're a targeted individual. They went around literally with a roller and rolled cash for smells all over New York City. All over New York City for little old me. My wife knew about it. They all knew about it. They were trying to cause me consternation. Guess what I did? And that was part of the op. This was 10 years in the making, guys, and I busted them. We busted them right here on this show. Make no mistake about it, because of you and the great man who also used cocaine, Sigmund Freud. That's right. We did it using cognitive therapy right here on the show. I can nearly almost prove that they're using this weapon on Bam Margera right now. That's why he's swinging for the ropes. What you got to do if this is happening to you, if you're experiencing any type of confusion, I mean the other kind of confusion, right? You got to go consult your doctor, obviously. So go do that. Go do every medical treatment you want. Take Rebelsis. Maybe if you're being a little bit too rebellious, maybe take some Rebelsis. Right? I don't know. Whatever you want to do, but you have to, number one, get rid of those apps. You can delete them, but you never really can, but if you delete them, it helps. Then you have to spend time being 100% sober. If you want to take something that's between you and the joint you smoke with your doctor. Do people smoke joints anymore? I think they just call them blunts now. I don't know. I used to smoke that stuff back when it was illegal. Okay? And anyways, I talk about my real life. Why? I don't know. Because I like learning about other people's real lives. Okay. Yes. I might be able to do more than one show. You know. I could actually do a 3-hour show every single day. I just have that stamina. I can do it if I had notes and prepared, and mostly what I do is wing it. And so I wrote this up in a hotel in Detroit. I was just writing. So just this year alone, just working on Linoleum Blown Apart, I wrote 250,000 words. Okay? It's all provable. It's on my computer. And then before that, when I was in the motel, I probably did a little, at least half that. I might have even done just as much. I have a picture somewhere. I've got tons of stuff. I've got $10,000 worth of equipment back in Michigan, right? Oh, I knew it was coming. Ooh, scusi. Sorry, life coach. Get off me. Get outside and do something. You're stinking up the joint. So, and one of those was the Caruso of Mick Cafe. And it was really funny because I made the joke. I said, wow, you must be the smartest guy at Mick Cafe. And then at a certain point, I called some guy a dollar menu motherfucker. It was like really great. Because I remember when I lived out on the street, like I am now, that's what I ate. That's what I ate. I ate dollar menu food. And that's where they came up with this whole Cast for Smells thing. Because what they do is prey on people on the street. And so as a method actor, as a true embedded reporter and journalist, I already told you about these things with Hunter S. Thompson. That's what created gonzo journalism, when he learned that they're just a bunch of phonies sitting around making shit up in their hotel room. And he's like, well, I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna take it to this degree, right? So I was sitting there and I was working out some ideas. One of them is a follow-up. One of them is one of the narratives for Nicholson and Dimes, which is a Tarantino property. I don't know what else. I have a lot of little narratives. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type these up. I'm going to type these treatments up. They putting them on Kindle behind a paywall. That was the whole plan. But again, I had to get my citizenship here in California. I'm an official native of California, okay? So you can send as many 12-year-old hitmen around me that you want. They do that too. You've seen that in movies as well, right? So if somebody who's 12 shoots me and I don't die, it's supposed to scare you, then all they do is go to juvie, and then when they get out, they go right into the military. So there you go. So in that, you have this other narrative, right? You have the narrative of one of these 12-year-old hitmen, right? They put him up. He runs with a local street gang. He listens to these guys like I did when I was a kid. I looked up to the guys in my neighborhood, and then I moved to downtown Detroit, and I became part of the punk rock scene, and then I realized that they're bigger pieces of trash than the people in my fucking neighborhood. And that's like actually, championing the guys in my neighborhood. Long live Steve Nishelke and the real crew, the real East Side Vandals, okay? I've pretty much had it with a bunch of these phonies from downtown Detroit. My ex-girlfriend sending her mother to LARP me with a fucking police officer. Yeah, you got another thing coming, skank. And then to come to find out all these years later, they were calling me Zoolander. But like I said, it got much worse. They were going to set me up for murder. They were going to murder my parents, and I stick by that claim. Please stay tuned to the show. It's a lot more funner. Right? But what I'd like to talk about are my ideas, because I actually grew up harder, smarter, better, faster than any of these police officers, anyone from my old crew, anybody who was LARPing me and running around calling me Zoolander. They can't hold a candle to anything that I've ever done in my life. I have way more stories than any of these people, and I've done a hell of a lot more. Right now, I'm obsessed with damn it, I should have combed my hair before the show. I can't. It's too late now. There's no backseas. These guys are going to come around the corner and start trimming bushes, so we got to wrap it up here. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting my show. I really appreciate it. Okay. Don't forget, I only eat off the EBT menu, and this thing is like, that's $6 right there, because it's always on sale. Oh, thank God. I only use Starbucks products. I'm sorry, I just do. What do you want from me? I got brand loyalty. Oh, I lost my comb. Okay. I got brand loyalty and whatever. So I called this guy. I said, wow, you must be the smartest guy at Mick Cafe. And these guys were doing nothing but hassling me through the Facebook app. They're all police officers, and that's what they do. They call their cousin Bubba, to harass you on the ground. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. I've been part of the street life. And I never said nothing. I always kept my mouth closed, man. I'm almost 60 years old. So what we have is this. So basically, this is based on a newspaper article that I read. And I saw this stuff in my real life. So you have a place like Mick Cafe. And in the morning, the elderly people get up. I'm almost elderly. I go down to the senior center right here in West Hollywood. The people there are really nice. We can get into a little bit about that stuff later, but keeping it about the project here. As an elderly person, I am on regimen. I like getting up at the same time every day. It is the morning time here in California. I get up when the sun comes up, and I like to go to bed around 10 o'clock at night. This causes a form of stability, and then you're able to build on this. That's your building block. And then you can start what's known as your own chaos magic. Now, what people don't understand is they want people to be like the Christ, but who you want to be like is Moses. You want to steal this information. You want to get this gnosis. You want to get all this knowledge, and then you want to start applying it to yourself. Okay? You want to come up with your own mantra. Mine is stare it down and nourish what comes near you. This is the Japanese misunderstanding of a backwards lyric in a Beatles song. We talk about the Beatles on this show. We talk about the fact that I'm postulating that John Lennon was smuggling in opium. Opium can be broken down. It could either be smoked on its own or it could be turned into heroin, so it's much more lucrative to have. And he was running with the guys from the MC5, who are the real true punk rockers. They are the Motor City 5, make no mistake about it. That's back when all this great music was coming out of Detroit, which included Parliament Funkadelic, and don't ever forget that was a rock and roll band. They made the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They were George Clinton was in the studio, right? When I was putting together Lick the Boot. It's a terrible record, but the concept is there. So I don't really care about that record, and I don't care about any of my old friends, and I certainly don't care about anyone who doesn't care about me. Okay, I'm out here in California. I just got my citizenship, and any new friends I make, even a wife or whomever, that's where you're going to be forever. You're going to be at arm's length. My own wife I was married to wanted me dead. There is no doubt. They made the capital ASS umption that I was going to commit suicide. That's what they did. And that's why they created the whole Cash for Smells op. That was all part of it. And I'm going to tell you guys everything. But right now, we're talking about the Caruso of Mick Cafe. This is actually based on a lot of things. I believe that they should do a new Pee Wee Herman show, but I think that it's got to be, you're capturing the essence. You can't bring things back. I don't know why there's only 1 Point Break. Everybody knows this. I just don't understand why they do this, but whatever. I guess after a few years, they get to reinvent everything. We talk about current events. We talk about a lot of things on this show, but right now what we're talking about is the Caruso of Mick Cafe. So I don't know if you guys know this play. It's called Waiting for Godot, right? So they're always waiting. They're waiting for someone to show up, and this person never shows up. Go take a look at some old plays that were really popular, and you can see how kind of corny they are, but they're cool. They're cool in that they were, I don't know, what was the other one that I was thinking of? I can't think of it now. But they're kind of cool. They're really kind of corny, but that's what's so cool about them. By the way, I got into acting because of people like David Mamet. And everybody loves, that one thing I can't remember, Glengarry Glen Ross. Everybody loves this, okay? All male actors love this, so give me a break. this is why I got into acting. And when I left Detroit, in case you guys don't know, it's your first time here, I was in a punk band for 10 years. They changed the names of my songs. They changed the names of the bands we were playing with. It was all in the Metro Times. And it makes me wonder who's connected to Metro Times. And then all of a sudden they vote this it's so gross. Anyway, the entire time I was in a band, no support. 2 labels was supposed to put out my record. One was Chaos Records, one was Disconnected Records. Disconnected Records put the dead guy on the cover, who my buddy's wife, who was dating this guy, used my likeness in an article about the death of this guy. And they're gonna pay. And I don't care about money. You see how I gotta come up with something instead of saying "see how I roll," because I literally don't have a car. I can't roll anywhere. So that's my real life. And again, guys, this is just recently. My own wife wanted me dead. She was part of this operation, and it's pretty shameful, and she knows it. And again, she has to live with herself. You have to live with yourself. In case you need to know how the world works, I won't get into it. So, anyway, okay. It's the Caruso and Mick Cafe. It's like waiting for Godot. He never shows up. Okay, so you have this group of elderly people. I get up early. I love getting up early. I get up with the sun. I love eating at Mick Cafe. I love the coffee. I love the breakfast. I love everything about it. So you have this elderly group of people. They're all friends. They all meet there in the morning. And they are elderly. There's no two ways about it. However you want to see it, however many characters you want to come up with, right? You have your usual group of ragtag characters. And they show up every morning. And they get the corporation tells them that they can get free refills and all this stuff. They're like, free refills on your coffee, but locally it's like a nightmare. Like they're drinking all the coffee, and they're there every single morning. They take over the tables. Nobody can really sit down, right? But they're only there until noon. So at noon time, they leave. Right? They leave because why? Because the kids in the local high school come in for lunch. And that's why these guys leave. So they're there they're there a lot of hours. Plus they're old, so they have to go home and take a nap. Right? So it works out good. But it's like 2 gangs, right? It's like the Mongols and the Hells Angels, right? One, it's like they'll never be in the same place together. They just can't. It's like they see each other coming, like, ugh, here they come. Yeah, right? Yeah, they hate each other. So this sets up the premise of the show. I had other things, just the MacGuffin. You know what the MacGuffin is? It's like what they're actually after, what happens, right? But when the old people are there, part of their dialogue is going to be that this Caruso guy is going to show up. Like, you can use whatever name you want. I don't really care. I would call him the Caruso. I got into other types of music besides punk rock while I was in a punk rock band, and that helped me to be the main songwriter. And people can't understand that I spent 10 years working really hard in the grievance committee. I worked really, really hard, and this is for you. This is for you. There's some serious fist fights that are going to go down. I hope I can get them on video, and they are with very specific people. I'm not mad at the world, but I can take all this angst and anger and I can use it in my properties. Okay? So that's what I'm doing now. But there was labels that were supposed to come out with my songs. There were other labels who I can't really, I want to say some things right now, but I can't. They changed the names of my songs. I mean, this is nonstop. This is for 10 years in Detroit. And then come to find out, some gerbil, some guy I called a gerbil, stole one of my songs. Well, that shows you that they're superior right there. I don't care if my songs come out. I don't care if my book comes out. I don't care if Caruso Mick Cafe comes out. I don't care if Linoleum Blown Apart comes out. I don't care about anything. You know what I care about? You guys. I care about my show. I care about you. I care about my watchers. Thank you guys very, very much. I really appreciate it. I sleep in my car and I do my show. And I write. Right now, I just became a citizen of California, and I do appreciate living here. And so it's taken a long time. So you have these elderly people in the morning, and they're obsessed with a guy who comes in, and you never see this guy, but you see him in flashback, right? You see him, and he comes in, and they want him to sing. Now, this is based on these women who came in. I keep telling you about my Uncle Paulie and his pizzeria. He was in a doo-wop group, and they sang at this place called the Greystone. I talked about that in another episode. You got to watch every episode. My band played the Greystone, okay? It became a punk rock place, but in the 50s, it was a doo-wop place, right? So these women came into the pizzeria one time, and they saw my Uncle Paulie, and they were like teasing him about his band. They're like, "Oh, sing to us, Uncle Paulie, sing to," well, I call him whatever. You know, sing to us, Paulie, sing to us, Paulie. You know, and they're like really obnoxious. And Paulie was like, he was rolling his eyes. He couldn't stand them. He's like, "Fucking skanks." You know, exactly how I feel about any of the women from Detroit who are in the punk rock scene. Exactly how I feel about my ex-wife as well. Skanks. So he's like really embarrassed. So this is kind of based on that a little bit. So this hero character, this Caruso, would be, you know, someone like Paulie. He's like, "Oh yeah, you don't remember? He was like Frankie Valli. He was like," but you have this element that is, before the crooners, they were actual singers, okay? And that's where you get the notion of a soap opera. It was like an opera, right? And it was like an operetta. Like, my sister is a mezzo-soprano, and she sings, and I have talent, and she has talent, but my mother and my two sisters who matter, they don't. You know, they can't even hit a note, whatever. That's not my problem. That's why nothing that I ever did had any value to them. And I waited until 2022 to make sure, and I'm for sure. Nothing I ever done had any value to anyone in the punk rock scene in Detroit. So I waited till 2022. That's for you. There will be fist fights. Let's hope we can get these fist fights on video, and I'll do what I can to make sure you guys see these yourself. I'll go bare knuckle, however they want to do it. You know, I don't really care. They probably won't, because they all think they run with a set now, and what they do is they send creeps around you, right? That's what they do. They send creeps around you. Well, when you F over somebody, you have to worry about that for the rest of your life. I never worried about Yolanda. Why? Because I wasn't afraid to go to jail. Because I knew someone was going to jail. In case you don't know, Yolanda was an ecstasy dealer, and she was out of control. There are personality types out there. I'm a little bit more beta. I'm actually delta, but people can't wrap their mind around it, so they have to project that I'm beta, right? But there are personality types out there. And there's a lot of trans men who have this personality type, and there's certain women who have this personality type, and that personality type is called bitch. That's all there is to it. My mother is the bitchiest person you ever want to see in your life. And so I became attracted to this bitchy personality type, and Yolanda had that, okay? And it's just a fact. Now, take a look at my playlist, guys. Take a look at Stacy Keach and Suzanne Tyrell. Okay? They're in a film. I can't think of the name of it right now. John Huston film. Okay? It's one of my favorite films. Right? I got to get my Wi-Fi working. It might not work. It's called Fat City. Okay? See, it doesn't take long. It's called Fat City. And take a look when her old man gets out of the joint. He goes to jailhouse. All right? Take a look when Suzanne Tyrell's boyfriend comes out. He explains to Stacy Keach what this personality type is. It's one of my favorite films. I love this film. I love so many characters in this film. Just incredible. Please, I urge you to watch this film. I urge you to check out my playlist. It's called Cinematic Expressions. I know nothing more than about the cinema. I'm not one of these super nerds. I don't care about stuff like that. It's just that it's my passion. Punk rock and cinema are my passion. Why do you think I'm writing Linoleum Blown Apart? To make $1 million? Here you go. I don't care about money. And that's what people can't wrap their minds around. They thought because I left Detroit that I'm going to go to New York and make a bunch of money. Actors don't make money. I knew that when I was listening to The Doors and Jim Morrison said that the words actor out on loan. I didn't even know what that meant. But obviously he meant from one studio to the other. An actor, you're loaning an actor out. Well, you got it. He's being used, blah, blah, blah. But I put together the notion of loaning like money, getting a loan. I used to drive this guy down to the pawn shop to pawn his watch because he ran out of money. He would get his check at the beginning of the month. He'd be drunk and he'd drink it up and go to the brothel, right? His name was Bill McDonald. He lived across the street. He had a jazz record collection that was huge. All of this is going into my property, more than likely, Linoleum Blown Apart, okay? I can see this as the Bukowski, I'm sorry, his name is Grabowski character. It's like Bukowski. You guys have to watch every show, and you guys, we're creating our own world here, so you have to understand what I'm talking about, or it's not going to make any sense, okay? So I started listening to crooners and people like that when I was working at Harmony House Records. I'm sorry that these morons who are in the punk rock scene, who basically ruined it by turning it into New York hardcore breakdown, I'm not really into that music. That's not what punk rock is to me. Punk rock is the Damned's Black Album. Okay? That's punk rock to me. Okay? It's overproduced punk rock, right? The 77 is the punk rock style. But after a while, it kind of developed and morphed. And what I was interested in was, like, one of the only Irish punk rock bands out there, Stiff Little Fingers. Okay? I was interested in that. And they were talking about what was going on in their local politics. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And that would cause me, in the BC era before computers, to go and look things up. I got more of an education after I graduated high school than when I was in school, guys. I didn't get much of an education in school. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're crying about some math scores? Who gives a shit about math? They have something called a calculator, moron. You don't have to learn these things anymore. And I think a lot of people don't know that. And I think a lot of people who are wrapped up into media deep blue, not me or you, because we know better. In case you don't know, your AI is programming you. Your AI is indoctrinating you. And I could talk about this Jim Caviezel movie all you want. It's satiating people on the right. Why? Because during a certain president's election, they figured out that people are interested in the subject matter. And now, the medium is the message. Now it's a cottage industry. Right? Like I said, they got rid of Buddy Holly. They, meaning, I don't know, was it an accident? The Big Bopper? Hello, baby. Mine was, I didn't really like that. And Richie Valens. I really liked, there's your Holy Trinity right there. 3 into 1. 3 into 4. 5. Oh, no. Sorry. I was going to say something important, but... Right? So I'm just saying, was it an accident? Is it a happy accident? Could a death, could somebody dying be a happy accident? Now, they said Anthony Bourdain killed himself, right? Okay. Well, why? You have a 2-year-old daughter. That doesn't make any sense. And so I know that the op that they ran on me was part of a self-harm op. That's what it was, and it came through the device. And they couldn't wrap their mind around the fact that they couldn't get me to do it. And these were people that I know in Michigan and in New York. Do a FOIA request yourself. It only costs $25. You'll find out everybody who's involved in this. All you have to do is trace the people involved. That's why I'm not worried about it. Why? Because I actually went out into the world. It's not my fault some skank girlfriend broke up with me, and the next thing you know, she turns on her TV and I was there. That's not my problem. It wasn't like I was hanging out with Taylor Dane. What the fuck, dude? It was just a job. So after 10 years of people taking the mick out of what I do, I left Detroit and I went to New York because my sister lived there. What did my father do? He left Kentucky and he went to Detroit because his sister was there. And I talk about these recurrences right on my show. That's what I talk about. You probably have many recurrences in your life. And that's what we call it because we create our own nomenclature here. So, yes! They're always waiting for this crooner. Okay? And I got that from working at my Uncle Paulie's Pizzeria. They're always waiting for this guy. And he's golden throat, man. He comes in. They're like, hey, there he is. Hey, we remember you. And it's all done in flashback because they're always waiting for him to show up. Now, you can do whatever you want. You can have him show up at the end. You can have him actually die. This is what I'm trying to tell you. If the plane went down the day the music died, and who was waiting? The Beatles were waiting. They already had him replaced. Now, is this happenstance? Is this the deep state? Oh my God. Oh. This is what we're talking about. So in the 2017 era, I know all about Thane Caesar. I know all about what happened with the Kennedy family and the people who actually thought that their family rivaled the Kennedy family. You know there's always two, right? There's always a rival. Who became president and whose son became president? Yeah. I believe the Bushes were in rivalry with the Kennedy family. Okay? And so I can still see this. This is still going on to this day. With this Jim Caviezel property. I'm out in Hollywood. I know what the narrative is. I know it's about cannibalism. That's what they were talking about. It's really interesting. I tell you about what I watch. I was watching a couple of interesting things. One was Chris D'Elia. I don't know how to say his name. D'Elia. And he goes, when Hollywood calls again, I'm going to have a big fucking tattoo on my chest. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, pal. Middle America thinks you are Hollywood. What do you mean when Hollywood calls? You are Hollywood to everybody else. You see what I'm saying? And now whether he was just joking or not, I don't know. You can't tell. You can't really tell. I don't know. But I thought it was funny that he was saying that. He's getting tats all over himself. Right? I don't have any tats. I don't have not one tattoo. I hope Jonathan Shaw made a lot of money off that tribal tattoo in the 90s. He's the one who actually created the tribal tattoo, and a lot of people started imitating it. He is the bastard son of Tommy Shaw, the band leader, big band leader, and he wrote a book, and he also used to hang out with Bukowski here in Los Angeles. His name is Jonathan Shaw. Look him up yourself. Those are the kind of people that I was following on Facebook and other apps that are weaponized. And here's Colonel Kurtz. She's wrapped up into the Ramstein. So with people like Colonel Kurtz, that's what I'm trying to tell you. The mainstream, Spin and Rolling Stone, as if they were still relevant, I guess they are. they're taking the side of these Me Too people, right? And so now that kind of leaves alt media, quote unquote alt media, right here on YouTube. I'm a YouTube exclusive, to take the opposite side in the dialectic. Okay? So let's not forget, when you have teenagers and 20-year-olds coming up and telling you stuff that they learned in school, well, who's delivering this information to them? Why are they talking like that? Someone is teaching the kids. And that's why I'm old enough to remember a lot of stuff that's happening now. Oh. That's all right. A lot of stuff that's happening now is passé. We've already lived through it. Guys my age should know better. And that's why I'm really disappointed in very specific people. Okay. We're going to wrap it up here in a minute. The library's opening. I'm really happy today. I don't know why I had a bad couple of days. It's all right. You move on. So we're talking about the... Sorry, guys, the flies, man. They're all over me, dude. Maybe I am part Ethiopian. Just kidding. That's a dig from back when we used to come home and watch Tom Schneider on TV. It's my generation. I'm Gen X, and they would show Ethiopian babies dying. That's what they would show on TV, was Sally Struthers crying. And for some reason, it was always in Ethiopia. And then finally, that guy, I can't think of his name. Ow. He's a comedian, Sam Kinison. He finally screamed into the microphone. He's like, why don't you take them to where the food is? If they're starving, right? So we know that this is emotional blackmail. And so when you space out into your device, and I hope you're spacing out into mine, boy, I tell you, I'm not looking to be an influencer, man. Okay, I'm born in the BC era, before computers. I'm not really worried about it. I'm gonna do my show regardless. It doesn't matter. So, but I matter and you matter. Ooh, boy, that sucker bit me, man. Right when we were sitting here. Should have bit him back. All right, wrapping it up here. So the Caruso of McCafe. So I love this kind of pre-crooner music. I really like it. And that's what they're talking about now. You could switch to doo-wop. It depends on when this thing comes out. I would suggest that it's kind of a combination of both. That, that it's like this doo-wop, crooner, and they're waiting for this guy. They're always waiting for this guy. Because he does show up every once in a while, but you don't have to show it like that. But in the afternoon, you have the teenagers, and the teenagers come in from high school. They come in for lunch, okay? But the trick to that is they're not the dollar menu crew. Even though they come in, they order off the dollar menu, they got to eat their lunch, blah, 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 right? The elderly people get up and leave because they got to go take their naps, right? And then the teenagers from school come in on their lunch, but they're wholesome teenagers like the kids around here. They're like wholesome, they go to school, they got normal parents, blah, blah, blah. But who else is there? The dollar menu crew, okay? And the dollar menu crew are the dropouts. And they are like the grubs. And they are like the bad guys. They are like the street urchins. They are like the street urchins that I came up with, right? That's why I created the dollar menu crew, because I used to live off of that dollar menu. And that's how I would live. And basically, I would go to day labor. I would drink beer, smoke weed. God, man, I couldn't get any. That's why all these other drugs came into being. Because I'm trying to get weed, dude. I just want to smoke some weed and drink some beer. Who doesn't? Everybody does that. I've been doing it since I was 12 years old. No, sorry, we've got this drug over here now, right? So I write about that a little bit. Take a look at my stories. All my stories are under Kindle, right on Kindle. I'm sorry, they're on a paywall now. I was giving all that stuff away for free. I gave it away for free for years. As a matter of fact, my book might still be on my, I don't know if it's on my, my Indeed or not. I don't know. Indeed. Shut up. So, all right, just to wrap it up. Cute little baby. I know, despite what you see, I do like children and animals. I love children and animals, right? So that's why I'm like a traditionalist without a tradition. Yeah? You know, and I mean, we don't know how or why, you know, things happen, but they do. I'm out in West Hollywood, and I am pitching my ideas. I'm going to be doing this until the day I die. I don't really care. Maybe I put a little bit too much into friendship. I guess I was confused because when I was somebody's friend on Facebook, I thought we were actually friends. I guess I was gravely mistaken. When I'm born into a family, I actually thought that I was somebody's brother. And when you're in somebody's family, you actually are supposed to care about them. I was gravely and sadly mistaken. I won't make that mistake again. So, it's a pretty simple premise here, guys. You have to have a MacGuffin. It's in my notes somewhere what the MacGuffin is. I don't know what it is. Obviously, there's going to be some type of murder, mystery, robbery. You have elderly people, and what do you always hear about? Elderly people being taken advantage of. What did me and my mother do in my neighborhood? We actually cleaned their houses. I cleaned their houses when I was a kid. I write about it in my book, Two-Legged Animal. What did my wife do? She started calling me butler. I didn't know what was going on. She was using a neurological weapon, and I had to go get a CAT scan because I thought I was having a brain aneurysm. That's how deadly this weapon is. So please be on the lookout for this weapon. They were convinced that they could get me to either harm someone else or self-harm. And this is what you call an obsequious Philistine. This is what you call a Philistine. This is what you call a bureaucrat. Because what they're doing is they're looking at me on paper. They're saying, oh, they're profiling me, aren't they? Sure they are. Gee, I don't know. Years ago, they said, well, you're not supposed to profile somebody. I thought that ran anathema to everybody's freedoms. And that's D-U-M-B. Everyone except me. Right? Oh, I was 100% profiled. We can get this guy to do it. And if he doesn't, then we're going to run Q-ops. What's a Q-op? When you start questioning your sexuality. This is part of the ops that they have. And this comes through your device. When you're a targeted individual, many people know about this. We can break the lid off this right here on this show, but hey, maybe that's not what I'm put on the earth to do. Maybe I'm put on the earth to actually work on Linoleum Blown Apart, which I try to do. Like I said, I write the treatments up. You can take a look at my Kindle. You could see the stuff that I've written. See, I don't know what, it's kilobytes? Kilobytes? I've written, I don't know, 500,000 kilobytes? That's what it is or something like that? I don't know. It's not that, I don't know what it is, but it's equivalent to about 1 million words. I've written 1 million words. You know, there's some people who are just like that. I'm like that. You know, that's what I do. So we're going to call it a day. We're coming up on the hour. I like doing an hour show every day. I could have done one yesterday. I could have done one the day before. I can do them every day, and I can do them about a myriad of subject matters. But people are starting to show up here. Geez, this guy dresses the same every day. So do I. So you have the Caruso McCafe, and it's a mythological figure. And you have the annoyed people who work there, but it's really not everybody. It's mostly just the manager. And there's no place for anybody else to sit down because the elderly people are taking up all the tables, right? But they do leave, and they leave around noon. And when they leave, the high school kids come in. But like I said, the high school kids are just there to grab lunch and then they go back to school. But the high school kids and the elderly people all have beef with who? The Dollar Menu crew. And the Dollar Menu crew are street urchins like me. Bums. They look evil. Now you have, good morning. You have the elderly people. They have their old trinkets that are worth a lot of money. Maybe there's a robbery. Maybe somebody stole something. Maybe somebody saw something. There's going to be some type of intrigue. But we're going to call it a day right now. Maybe I'll do a show later on and I'll talk more about, I'll take a look at the headlines and we can break down some headlines. Okay? I can do that. I can do all manner of things. Why? Because we are tapped into the Eggyverse. And what is that? That's using free association in order to tap into the collective unconscious and to figure out certain stories and certain things and to try to figure out, you know, what is worth our time investing into. Oh, my nose, I just... And what's a complete and utter waste of time, right? What are we going to get emotionally invested into? What stories are we going to get emotionally invested into? And how relevant are they? And how true, objectively true are they? Or are they completely subjective? And are they mostly coming from Stanley Kubrick's monolith? I bring it up every time. You got to look at Wikipedia, look at orthogonality. Orthogonality goes to base pairs in your DNA. What if your device can cause you to catch a cold? Has anybody thought about this? Is anybody else talking about this? Does anybody else have the type of show that I have? I don't think so. I look at these other shows. You know what they do? They scroll, clicky, swipey, scrolly, likey. They scroll Twitter. That's what they do. Oh, God, I gotta sneeze some kind of way. Right? They scroll Twitter on their show, and that's what they do. We don't do that here. We speak extemporaneously. I tell you about my real life. You could look into any of that. I talk about my projects, and these are little stories that I write. Hello, Kate. Right? And again, when you're Cinderfella affected, you could be, like, I get a lot of false validation. And a lot of times when I'll write a comment, I'll get a thumbs up. I'm doing good. How are you, Kate? Right? So, I'm talking to the little creature down there. You should be able to see him. So I'll get a false validation. I'll get a false thumbs up. Is this real? Is this a troll farm? And how much of my brain power am I going to invest into trying to figure all this out? What I deemed it, I call it the Cinderfella effect. Right? There is no Mandela effect. Nobody knew who Mandela was until the 1980s. Give me a break. Nobody knew who he was until they were already making him the president of South Africa. And why would they call it South Africa if there's a North Africa and a South Africa, but yet they call the country South Africa? No, it's Southern Africa, right? Anyways, that's why I don't consider it to be right? Yay, from the UK. That's Kate from the UK. Hello, Kate. How are you? Oi? Yeah, that's, I thought Nathan from Lift the Veil's old lady was named Kate from the UK. Yeah, so anyway, so that's the story of the Caruso of Mick Cafe. There is another Gordon Ison. My name is Gordon Douglas Ison. There is another Gordon Ison in Manchester, England. I contacted this person and I offered to get together to write an album because I have most of the songs. He declined, And so I'm taking my songs and I'm putting them into Linoleum Blown Apart. And what Linoleum Blown Apart is the story of a kid in a punk rock band. You can't get the timeline any better than this. You can't get you can't get the timeline any better than this. Napoleon was born August 15th, 1769. This kid is born, obviously, August 15th, 1969. I was born in 1966. So my songs fit perfectly. We never even have to say what country Walter's from. We never even have to say when it was. You can show it by the clothes. Guys, The Sopranos keeps coming up in my scroll. I talk about what comes up in my scroll. The greatest thing about this show, The Sopranos, was that there were all these arbitrary rules about being a wise guy. There were all these cliches about the films that we watched, like The Godfather. I told you I got to meet Francis Ford Coppola. I got to shake his hand. Of course, he shook everybody's hand. There was only about, I wouldn't know, I think there's only about less than 100 people showing up for an open call for On the Road. My headshot is in his archive. And this would have been, I guess, August of 1995 or 96. Not August, but it was the winter. So it was like winter, it was December, I don't know, January. I got to meet Francis Ford Coppola, and I'm just a guy. I got to work with his son, Roman, who actually worked on Atomic City. I really like that. I like the fact that they're a family. I really love and respect other families. And the only family that I can have would be my own. To have my own children. That's who I consider my family. I don't really consider my sisters and my mom or anybody else to be my family. I don't consider it. Why? Because you were never really in my life. You were never really a part of my life. I had to go out into the world. And I actually lived, like I said, like a true embedded journalist, like a real method actor. I got work as an actor back when they were calling me a non-traditional actor. Back at the American Indian Community House in New York City, we had a guy who was a Filipino because he had nowhere else to go to get acting work. You understand what it was like? There was no Vin Diesel back then. None of these people existed. There was no Jason Momoa, okay? A lot of people know that people are mixed race. Back then, take a look at David from Majesty Crush. Please buy Majesty Crush's record and whatever else they have, okay? That's the op that they were using on me at the same time in 2017. Guys, you gotta stay tuned to my show. I talk about a lot of things on here and I try to keep it fun. I'm not one of these guys who are just like, oh, I'm not on the grift, man. I don't need any, yeah, great. Thanks, Kate. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. What I do here, Kate, in case you don't know, is I pitch ideas. I live on the streets of Los Angeles, here in West Hollywood, and I actually sleep in my car and I pitch ideas. My main one I'm writing is called Linoleum Blown Apart, and that's going to be the novelization to a television series. And so today, our episode is called The Caruso of Mitt Cafe. I'm all about product placement. Take a look. Oh, by the way, look what came up. They made a movie about McDonald's. They made a whole movie about how McDonald's came together. Thank you very much, Kate. I appreciate it. I'm single too, by the way. Yeah, my wife only tried to kill me. This is very provable and real, and I will talk about it. I will make these accusations right here on the show. You can dox these people yourself. Go to the Queens courthouse. Go to the courthouse in Queens and see who Gordon Douglas Eisen has a marriage certificate with. Go and find this person and find out what you can about this person. Get him. Get after him. That's right, I have the power. That's me. And my show, The Grievance Gordy Show. So please stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more. I gotta go. Oh.